Alzheimer's disease may be more inherited than previously thought. So yes, maybe your genes have a bigger impact than what we used to think. Genes that increase the risk of developing Alzheimer's might be a separate form of the disease, according to a new study published in the Journal of Nature Medicine. Scientists previously knew that there were two forms of Alzheimer's disease: familial, meaning coming from your family and your genetics, or sporadic. And as the name suggests, genetic mutations cause the familial type. And this definitely develops earlier, and it's not as common. Previously, medical professionals believed that it was about 5%, perhaps maybe 1 in 50 people. Now they're thinking it's about 1 in 6. The change came about because scientists say they better understand the role of the APOE gene and how it plays a role in Alzheimer's. APO2 is considered protective against developing Alzheimer's. APOE3 is considered neutral. APO4 increases the risk of developing Alzheimer's, and people with 2 copies of this gene have an elevated risk. Guess who has 2 copies? Me. So I better be listening, right? Initially, APOE4 was considered a risk factor, but now they're saying it's an inherent form of Alzheimer's and regarded as a separate disease. So what these scientists looked at the data from about 3,300 brains stored in the National Alzheimer's Coordinating Center and the data from 10,000 people from 5 clinical trials. When looking at the brains, they noted that 273 had 2 copies of this gene, and out of those, 240 had dementia, pretty high numbers. These researchers also found that people with APOE4, an inherited form of the disease appeared about 10 years earlier, with onset average at approximately 65 years old. They were also more severe earlier for those people than those with other forms of Alzheimer's. The researchers said that having 1 copy of the gene increases the risk, but 2 copies, obviously there's a higher risk of having beta amyloid buildup in the brain. Now remember that amyloid word. Okay, so based on these findings, the research suggests that people with 2 copies have a genetic form of Alzheimer's. So what do we do about this? Personally, I'm very concerned or interested in this topic because I have 2 of these genes, the APOE4. And yes, you can get your DNA tested, and I have links for that below. But I mentioned that I had my brain scanned because of my vision issues from the varicella virus that was triggered by the spike protein in my optic nerve, and my vision was going blurry, coming back, going blurry, so my eyesight was good. But when they did a brain scan, the doctor literally said, your brain looks really good. In fact, it looks better than any other brain I've ever seen. And he said this is due to all of the things that I do for my health. So there is good news. And I've talked about your genetics don't mean that that is your destiny, right? It's the epigenetics, what you're doing with your lifestyle. My brain today works far better and faster than it ever did during my college days at Stanford, and I got pretty much straight A's. And you would think that it would be much worse being 48, perimenopausal, all of the toxicity, the heavy metals, the radiation, the spike protein, all of that I talk about. But this is why there's such good news. There are tools you can use to mitigate any genetic predisposition from expressing itself, not just Alzheimer's, any chronic disease, any autoimmune disease. The goal is to only turn on the genes that you want and not turn on the genes that you don't want. So let's look at the causes of poor brain health. Well, substance abuse. Do I really need to talk about that? That can actually change the brain in a permanent way, structurally, neurochemically, all of that. Okay, that's a no-brainer. Elevated chronic stress. I find it very interesting that my father's best friends, who are really high up there, very successful CEOs, they're the ones with Alzheimer's. And it's probably due to the elevated chronic stress. And we're all experiencing this. So the stressors aren't going to go away. but it's how you perceive them and how you process those stresses. They can take down your thyroid, your adrenals, your sex hormones, so many ways that they can affect you, including your brain. Excessive sugar and processed food consumption. You don't even know it. You're eating all of these hidden sugars if you're opening packages. Those are processed foods. Before 1980, there really wasn't any, and people were eating without thinking about carbs or fat or proteins because they were eating real food without the GMOs, without the toxicity. And these processed foods and sugar have been linked to elevated blood sugar, causing mood issues, ADHD, cognitive decline, and Alzheimer's is now known as type 3 diabetes. There's a reason, right? Because it's sugar in the brain. The body becomes resistant to taking in that glucose for energy, and the cells in the brain die. That's why a lower carb diet can be helpful for people with Alzheimer's or prevention. Degradation of the food supply. So not only the processed foods, but the seed oils, the vegetable seed oils that go rancid, glyphosate, fluoridated water, genetically modified organisms or GMOs, they are adversely affecting the brain. So not just in the elderly population with dementia and Alzheimer's, but you've got kids on ADHD and mood disorder drugs at an exponentially higher rate. I talked to a teacher just a couple years ago. 24 out of 25 of our kids were on some sort of medication for ADHD or anxiety or depression. That is scary. And that was in 4th grade. So it's really important to be thinking about the food that you're putting in your mouth. Leaky gut can be a big contributor to poor brain health. Your gut is your second brain. That's what they call it. And there's this gut-brain axis. What goes on in the brain is connected to the gut. When there's leaky gut, there's holes in the fish lining or the fish net lining of your intestinal walls, and foreign particles get into the bloodstream. Your body goes, oh my God, I don't recognize it. What is it? Let's have a huge systemic inflammatory response. And that is going to cause inflammation in the brain. And that's going to affect your production of serotonin, dopamine, GABA in the brain as well. Oxalates, some of these healthy foods like spinach, almonds, most nuts, berries, beans, beets, grains, turmeric, so good for you, right? Kale. When you consume them, they get deposited in your tissue, organs, and bones. They can affect your brain, lead to sleepiness, neuropathic pain, poor concentration, mental and emotional fatigue, thyroid issues, hypothyroidism, lack of focus, and they've been connected to dementia and Parkinson's disease. Then you've got the sulfur foods. Those are the healthy cabbage and broccoli and cauliflower, egg yolks, garlic, onions. But the problem is because of glyphosate and the infiltration of the spike protein over the last few years, our detox pathways for sulfur have been compromised. And now these once healthy foods and even medications and supplement that contain sulfur may back up the detox pathways. Even that DIM that you're taking for your estrogen dominance, that's full of sulfur foods, guys. That's backing up your liver. That's going to cause an increased histamine reaction, inflammation in the brain and the body, anxiety, mood swings, dizziness, and even dementia and Alzheimer's. So got to be careful about those. Now, amyloid proteins. We talked about the amyloid plaque in the brain that's associated with Alzheimer's. Well, amyloid proteins are found in conventionally raised meats like chicken, pork, turkey, beef, and they contribute to an increased amyloid burden in the body, and that can disrupt the gut, lead to autoimmune disease, brain fog, but they are misfolded proteins. They never get broken down and used to build your muscles. They get deposited, right? Just anywhere in the body, including the brain, potentially causing dementia and Alzheimer's, while also promoting an overgrowth of gut pathogens and other chronic disease. Histamines, this is huge. I've never had histamine issues until the last 3 years because of the spike protein. Spike protein has increased histamine response. Histamine is causing inflammation. And yes, we need histamines, but an over-exaggerated response is what we are seeing. And you can have headaches, dizziness, concentration issues, all of that, mood issues, and that can contribute to poor brain health. And the spike protein, I've touched on it, but what it's doing, it is literally the gift that keeps on giving. It is causing the reactivation of the varicella virus that affected my optic nerve, the Epstein-Barr virus, all of these other viruses. It's causing gut issues. It's causing water retention, unexplained weight gain, increased amyloids, even without eating those amyloids, increased amyloids in the body, detoxification issues, your liver's being backed up. It's increasing the oxalates in your body without eating the oxalates. That's why it's so important to address these food issues that I'm talking about. So what am I doing for my brain health to make sure that I don't get that dementia or Alzheimer's, even though I have both genes, right? My focus is the diet, like we're talking about, getting rid of the amyloid proteins, focusing on wild animal protein, bison, deer, elk, Cornish game hen, wild fish. Those are my go-to, lamb, and my body loves it. They're much more easily digested and they don't have those amyloids. I'm getting rid of the sulfur foods. I'm getting rid of the oxalates. I'm focusing on the foods from the accelerated food guide, which the link will be below. Make sure you check it out. It will lay out the foods that you can eat, and there's tons of them, so you're not limited. And then I focus on 3 supplements. Accelerated Cogniblast. Take this every day. It is the first nootropic supplement in the world to combine traditional Ayurvedic herbs known to improve brain health that have been used for thousands of years with smart nutraceuticals. And it has been shown to improve mood, improve focus within 30 minutes. I take it before a podcast, before I need to write an article, before I'm doing something important. And then I also know that it's helping me long term. It increases the production of ATP. You've heard me talk about ATP. It's all about the health of your mitochondria and ATP. ATP is true cellular energy. It doesn't matter what diet you're on. If your ATP is not functioning, if it's not high, you're not going to lose the weight. You're not going to get rid of the brain fog. You're not going to feel better. It also, Cogniblast helps lower anxiety, increase motivation, decreases the risk of Alzheimer's and dementia. So it's working on your brain long term, not just short term. It helps with damaging free radicals. It lowers inflammation, supports your organs, improves circulation, because part of the brain issue is a lack of circulation, right? So it increases the circulation throughout your whole body, lowers that perceived stress. Your stressors aren't going anywhere. You got to be able to deal with them better, right? Okay, so the accelerated Cogniblast is also enhanced with scalar frequencies that are programmed to help clear emotional and physical shock from the body, enhance the health of the brain, improve the memory, detox halogen toxins from the pituitary and the pineal, and decalcify the pineal, pituitary, and hypothalamus. Those are your control systems in your brain. They affect your gonads, your thyroid, your adrenals. You got to have a good, healthy brain for everything else to work. The second supplement is the accelerated iodine. This is the number one, the deficiency in iodine is the number one cause of depression. And there's a reason, because there's low ATP. This supplement will bring your ATP in each mitochondria from 2 to 36. That's 18 times. It's also detoxifying the brain, and it's helping kill all of those viruses, bacteria, the microbes that could be bringing down your brain. And it helps increase that cellular energy that's going to enhance your metabolism, your caloric burn, brain function, physical performance, everything. It is so important for your thyroid health. And your thyroid is so important for your brain health. Most people on antidepressants are actually hypothyroid. So accelerated iodine is the only iodine that I recommend. It is 100% bioavailable in all cells of the body. And it's enhanced with scalar frequencies to help detox the brain and the body of radiation, heavy metals, fluoride, bromide, chlorine, all substances that degrade the brain function. And then you've got the methylene blue. This is new, and this has been a game changer. I just had someone tell me that this really has flipped her switch when it comes to her anxiety that she's been suffering from for over 20 years on major medication for it. She's off her medication because of the Cogniblast and the methylene blue. Not only does it have antioxidant properties, but it's neuroprotective. And there's research showing that it can help with Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. Methylene blue is an electron carrier. It helps against malaria and some other diseases. But what it does is it stimulates oxygen consumption and reduces that anaerobic glycolysis, which we don't want. And it can diminish the generation of those reactive oxygen species, providing a cellular protection against challenges like glutamate blockages, so many things. It has been shown to help with Alzheimer's, Parkinson's disease, and stroke. And it has become very popular for a reason. It also enhances that mitochondrial function. So that is where we want to focus, our mitochondria for our brain and our body. It's also been shown to help with cognitive enhancing effects, improving memory and cognitive function. So those are my 3 supplements. We always love to take it to another level with the methylene blue. It's made with John Ellis distilled water and filtered through a grander water system, meaning that the water has energy. It has healing properties away from the methylene blue. So it takes it another level up. So remember to stop eating those sugars and the processed foods. Eat the fruit. Eat the vegetables that are full of carbs on the accelerated food guide. Just get rid of the processed foods and the GMOs. Focus on that wild animal protein. Of course, focus on your sleep, 7 to 8 hours every night. No one gets away with less sleep than that. Your body will suffer. And exercise. Walk for the stress, lift heavy muscles for your brain and your body. That builds your ATP and your mitochondrial health, and it helps with the overall longevity of your body. Hopefully that was helpful. There's good news. You're not destined to have Alzheimer's, and I believe that, as I am one of the statistics. So thanks for tuning in. If you need my help with your health and you don't know where to start, just feel free to reach out to me at SaraBantaHealth.com. Happy to put together a protocol for you, and join my free group coaching on Telegram. No downside. I answer your questions. I share daily tips and tools to improve your health. And you're going to be surrounded by an amazing, supportive group of people that are on the same path as you. There's more information on my website, SaraBantaHealth.com. Of course, don't forget to follow me on social media, Accelerated Health Products. You can catch this podcast and all of my podcasts on over 100 platforms, including Spotify, iTunes, and iHeartRadio. Just search Accelerated Health TV and Radio Show. I'm on a mission to share my healing message with everyone who's ready to listen. This is such an important topic. Please share this podcast with a few of your friends who might benefit. And remember, I'm live every Monday and Tuesday and post a bonus one on Thursdays. Be sure to visit the website, use coupon WELCOME10 to get 10% off site-wide. Thanks again for joining us here, and have a great week.